some people have this feeling of lack of order and chaos. The fascism was a reaction to this vision of how to deal with those problems. Actually, comes with this idea that they should change state to make it more stronger, and also, in a way, attack the legal system and also political system.
This is Common Sense Generation. Common Sense Generation. Hi guys, this is Common Sense Generation. We talk about philosophy, and today we talk about fascism. With me is Dr. Magdalena Gawin, philosopher and a member of the Faculty of Political Philosophy at Warsaw University. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for the invitation.
Just for the first question, how actually it happened that you became a professional philosopher?
Well, it's not an easy one, because I think that it came by an accident in a way, because after I finished philosophy, I started to teach. So in a way, teaching drew me to philosophy, because I really started to love this. Not simply like, but really love. And because I still remain active when it comes to being researcher, I finally, find the job here at the University of Warsaw, which I'm very glad and I'm very glad for this.
So you basically finished the studies at the university. Were you more eager to, as a young, let's say, student, more in love with reading Plato or more in love with reading Nietzsche?
Actually, both. I love them both, because they're both very inspiring, in the sense that there is a trip that Plato takes you, and also Nietzsche, and you may disagree with all of their conclusions, theses, and everything. However, when you read them, you are like reading an adventure when it comes to movement of their thought. Right? So still, you may disagree with all of them, but philosophy is about creating and about critical thinking.
Absolutely, and of course I would say Plato himself contradicts himself in the whole system.
Nietzsche too.
But reading both of them is a pleasure. But then you move to Kant and you think for yourself. Was it all worth it?
Yes, I think so, right? Even though it's quite challenging and difficult at times. And also philosophy is about thinking, not exactly about creating things. So you don't build, buildings and stuff like that, but all you do is just think and analyze, phenomena, social phenomena, political phenomena, and stuff.
And then
like that.
we have this, on the other hand, we have those philosophical ideas or terms which go into everyday life, which go into discussion, which go into media. And this right now happens with fascism. All politicians, whenever they want to discredit the opponent or system, they call them, "Oh, you're fascist." So right now this phrase is used a lot. Let's go to the origins. What actually fascism mean?
The funny thing is that we don't know exactly, in the sense that there is no one definition of fascism. So you have absolutely right that contemporary have like a inflation of the meaning and stigmatization.
You cannot be a good fascist, can you?
No, you can't. You can't. However, we can say that, of course, the term fascist comes from the Italian roots, Italian movements. However, the scary part of it comes from the German version of fascism, so Nazism, right? So that is the reason why probably we are so scared of this threat of fascism. And when it comes to this, let's say, original term or original or the understanding. The thing is that, like I said, we don't have like one meaning, but we can have some, we can like show some features connected with the fascism. So first of all, fascism as a movement comes from the circumstances, historical one. So we are after First World War, and in Poland, so from Polish perspective, it was like in a, I don't know whether it was enjoyment, but it was in a way, because we regain our sovereignty, and we were capable of defend it. However, when it comes to the rest of the world, it was great trauma.
Of the
First World War, and was a great disappointment, because all the rules and all the
images
system
and ideas were destroyed. A lot of young people died.
Yes, exactly. So it was great crisis when it comes to social life, and also lack of trust when it comes to institutions, and also, especially maybe, to the establishment. And also, some people, they felt like a threat in a way, because everything changed.
Monarchism changed. The big monarchism, especially in Europe, collapsed.
Yes, exactly. So many things changed, but also it was problem of migration. It was problem of unemployment. It was problem when it comes to a different kind of movements, feminist movement and also socialist movement. So some people have this feeling of lack of order and chaos. So the fascism was a reaction to this. And their vision of how to deal with this, those problems, actually, comes with this idea that we should change, or they thought that they should change state to make it more stronger, and also to, in a way, attack the legal system and also political system, because they thought that they should somehow change the establishment. And also when it comes to different movements, like I said, socialist movements, they wanted to make a state stronger in the sense also that they would be able to stop it. Right?
To stop the changes.
Yes, stop the changes, but also to stop the growing strength of the socialist, for instance, movements. So, so that is one of the features, right? So the attack on legal system, and also simply current regimes. Right. The other thing is that there is a sense of nostalgia when it comes to the past, probably past that never existed. However, because also of the changes when it comes to social structures, also, like I said, migration, they wanted to regain the sense of community and also group identity. So another feature is connected with some form of, some call it ultranationalism, or we can say radical nationalism, but also this identity can come from the race, right? So it was a quite radical movement, which was in the sense also revolutionary, because they wanted to, those movements, they wanted to take state.
Take over power.
Yes, take over power.
And bring order in their way.
Bring order, and also, like I said, in order to do that, they wanted to weakened rule of law. Right? So that was also
more into the direction of dictatorship.
Yes.
So this is also this reaction, this feeling when we feel not protected by the state,
Yeah.
where we feel that,
Yeah.
and definitely the what they experienced during the First World War, which was so bloody and so also lack of sense, because in just few meters away, people were killing each other, and very often they were people even previously in like life before war, they were friends or they knew each other or people of the same class, because we have to remember that a lot of, like, let's say, intelligentsia went to the First War as well and died there. So so huge disappointment, and disappointment that we try to find safety in the in a very radical approach to nation and society to get rid of all the weirdness, some craziness, and the changes in society.
Yes, and also we can mention that also one of the features was connected with the relation between state and economy. So one of the things which was characteristic to this, let's say, original fascism was that they thought that states should also, in a way, control economy, so that the state should provide good, I don't know, loan for the for the families. So that was also this.
So in fact, anti-free economy and free market, but more like controlled market, which provides gifts, a funny combination in a sense of those two elements. On the other one hand, very nationalistic, on the other hand, very controlled by the state. And then, of course, it leads to dictatorship in the form of Italian, which was more funnier.
Yes.
And in the form of Nazism in Germany, which was absolutely radical. Because this is also a German feature, as I observed studying in Germany, that whenever they decide for something, they are not moderate in their decision, but they go 100% this way. So, like, let's go full game in. We're not taking a step away. So when they are completely in, they are in.
Yes, on the other hand, we can say that in Germany at that time, the situation was really radically bad, right? Especially after First World War, right? So the society was much more radicalized. So, on one hand, character of the Germans or German society, on the other, really radically bad economical situation and everything, actually. So that was it. But I would like to also add that, the fascism is like, I just talk about those features characteristic to the fascism. However, fascism is also like in a way, movement. So I think that it is quite probable that fascism in Italy would turn out to be like dictatorship, and that's it. Not necessarily fascist state or Nazi state, right?
So when we have this perspective, and of course, the fascism has a very negative connotation right now. It is used as a form of curse or to a political opponent, which should discredit his ideas or his existence in politics. Because after all, fascism is something which is not tolerated in Europe after the World War II. We at all want to exclude such form of extremism. So, and you deal with the problem of post-fascism. Mm-hmm. So, what it would be? What is that? What are the phases of post-fascism?
Well, it's characteristic of fascism, but after neoliberal revolution, so to say. So we live now in the world where economy is quite separated from the government. Of course, we have taxes and everything. However, as a rule, actually, we assume that economy should not be somehow ruled by the politicians, but it's quite separated.
In ideal version.
Yes, in ideal version, of course.
But then we have corruption.
Yes, and everything. However, so we still have like fascist movements in a way. However, they have to deal with different problems, right? So they don't necessarily ask for very strong government in order to deal with economical problems, but it seems that they more want to deal with identity problems, with the problem of migration. So the post-fascism also have to deal or try to deal with some problems connected with contemporary societies, however, not necessarily by using force against capitalism, but more against some minorities.
So it would be like keeping the society more national in a race way, that more unified.
For instance, yes.
And is it only a, let's say, Western feature, European, or would you extend it to, for example, fascism in China, being afraid of the others? Could you imagine even a foreigner, a white person in a Chinese government?
I don't know the China that much, but I think so. Yes, in the sense that
I couldn't imagine. I don't think they would be ever trusted.
No. I just want to say that I could imagine like a China government as a partially fascist, in the sense that they have these identity problems and they have the problem of exclusion of one of the minority group, like Uyghurs, right?
Oh, of course, there's huge problems and justified, and the unification, especially right now in China, is huge. To even against the other Chinese dialects and the other Chinese identity groups except Han, so they would be very much fascist in this definition. But we don't call them this way because they identify mostly as Xi Jinping version of communism, which is very much far away from anything which we connect to Marxism. But still, that's their name. That's their label. So post-fascism in Europe, as a movement, as a group, as a political movement, or as a social movement?
You know, this term post-fascism comes from the work of Enzo Traverso. I have to admit that I have some doubts when it comes to this term, in the sense that I totally understand that what he's trying to say, right? That we have like different, we have like contemporary problems which are not as that different, in the sense that we also have problems with migration. We also have the problem, or some people have problems with the sense of crisis of institutions, whether state would be able to deal with the global climate changing, right? Whether state would be able to deal with social problems, right? Different kind of. And
we had those two things, which definitely brought a lot of doubts about the power of the state. One thing is, of course, the global pandemic, when we saw that states have no idea how to deal with it, and they bring stupid regulations which don't have a great effect on people. And I do think that a bit of a shock is also the war in Ukraine, because this is a war in Europe, which we thought will not happen after the World War II.
Yes, so we live in this sense of crisis, and people feel in a way under the threat. So it posed the conditions for some form of like different kind of radical movements, and some of them we can call fascist, or like we can find some similarities, right? So Traverso wanted to stress that there is like a different type of group or movements which are like post-neoliberal in a way, but I'm not sure, because we don't know the future, in the sense that we can imagine ourselves in this situation, because this war in Ukraine, it also like brings this feeling that we should take control over state, in the sense of the, for instance, military production and everything. So it would draw us to this idea that states should control economy, right? So I'm not sure whether we are in post-fascism period. I understand the term, however, I'm not sure.
And what is the difference between fascism and communism?
Theoretically, the differences are quite huge. In practice, it's not as that, it's not that shiny and simple, because on one hand,
because communism is also an answer of this fear,
yes.
And the fear of chaos, and this lack of belief in the state and in the social order.
Both of the movements, in a way, attack state, its institutions. But fascism, fascists, they want to create new, very strong state, while communists, in theory, of course, they wanted to create new society. Of course, we know what happened in the Soviet Union. They create very strong state. So that is the problem. But
and in China is a similar way.
Yes, exactly.
Creating a huge state controls everything.
Yes, but in theory, this revolution should create new society and make political institution or public institution weaker. It didn't happen though.
So yeah, it's always the other way. It always makes it stronger.
Yes. So, this is one of the similarities and differences, right?
Paradoxes. And I think we put a point here, and we'll continue in this discussion in our second episode and second interview. But just to show to all of you, the viewers of Common Sense Generation, how things in theory can be clear and in practice very difficult, and how those terms fascism and communism, even in the eyes of a philosopher, bring a lot of trouble to identify clearly and show the real definitions which we could fully agree on. This was Magdalena Gawin in Common Sense Generation, and thank you for watching our show. And we thank Polish National Foundation for making this video podcast possible. This is Common Sense Generation. Common Sense Generation.